Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Friday news dump in which we are going to dump all of the news that you need to know before the weekend so you don't have to worry about it. If there's anything bad that happens, well, we'll tell you on Monday. Unless it happens to you, then we won't know, and it'll be a surprise to us as well. This is Before Coffee, father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our news stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we haven't had any caffeine. Well, somebody's going to be drinking caffeine during the show, which is totally fine in my opinion. I do it all the time. I don't tell them about it, but I definitely do it all the time. But I should be awake already. It's like 1 p.m. So let's get into... Yeah. Let's get into our headlines for today's show. Today on Before Coffee, Slovakia adopts Russian-style law targeting NGOs, and Slovakia's pro-Russian leader rejects a call by the EU not to attend a military parade in Moscow. Uh-oh.
And in the United States, U.S. Senator Van Hollen meets with wrongly deported man in El Salvador.
France to revisit Haiti's post-slavery reparations 2 centuries on.
And all life on Earth comes from one single ancestor. Now we know what it is.
The perfect Easter playlist. Hidden stories behind Jesus songs.
And it's National Clean Out Your Medicine Cabinet Day. Don't take any of that stuff. Just get rid of it. Don't give it to the neighbors either. It's 250 years ago today. Those Power Reviews ride on April 18th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
The Paul Revere ride that everyone, I guess everyone in the U.S. learns about as a little kid. Start with our segue wheel. I will get this sooner or later, I'm sure. It's a bad pun about Slovakia, which is our first story coming out of the EU today. Slovakia's Robert Fico, who's been, I guess what you could say is slowly going more pro-Russian, is, or maybe not even slowly, maybe quickly going pro-Russian. This is on Politico.eu. Slovakia's parliament on Wednesday, which was the 15th, I think. Sorry, the 16th of April. Passed a bill tightening rules for non-governmental organizations, which critics say resembles the Kremlin-style legislation. The law was adopted in a fast-track process and with the bare minimum majority of 76 MPs, so it barely passed. It orders NGOs to disclose information about their donors and introduces fines for those who fail to do so. The most controversial part of the law, labeling NGOs as lobbyists, was removed as a concession for the legislation to pass. Opponents of the bill from the Progressive Slovakia and Freedom Solidarity (SES) parties are calling on President Peter Pellegrini not to sign in the law. NGOs such as Via Uris or Peace for Ukraine have dubbed the law as Russian-esque because of its implications for the country's democratic opposition. This law is copied from Russia, where similar legislation has been used to destroy independent organizations, imprison opposing figures, silence the media, and impose repression. Lucia Staselova from the Peace for Ukraine initiative, which organizes the protest, told Politico. Earlier this month, thousands of Slovaks protested against the bill in more than 30 cities around the country, but also Madrid, Copenhagen, and London. Pushing through the legislation was part of Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico's long-standing effort to bring NGOs and independent media to heel. What does that mean, to heel? They're talking about the bad things I'm doing too. Back in 2023, after he was re-elected as Prime Minister for the 4th time, this is why we have term limits, man. 4th time. I don't care who you are. I'm just saying, I feel there's maybe it's not a causation, but there's a correlation between the amount of time you get reelected to how fast you become. You know? Oh, I've been elected my 10th time. Okay, you're basically a dictator at this point, you know? The European Commission criticized the initial draft bill, which intended to label NGOs as foreign agents, in its 2024 rule of law report, warning that it would take legal action if the Slovak government pushed it through. Fico and his allies say that the legislation is aimed at enhancing transparency, but his political opponents don't buy it. The authors of the bill realize that the original proposal will not comply with EU law, as was the case with similar law in Hungary, so they found another way to undermine NGOs. Andres Dostal, MP for the right-wing SAS party, said previously, adding that the bill went way beyond changing terminology. It's an attempt to label non-governmental organizations and give them a negative connotation. So when you hear NGO, you should think evil people. That's what they're trying to do. Switch everyone's brain, make NGO. Well, NGO, I guess, is already a buzzword, but yeah, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know what NGO stands for, it's non-governmental organization. So if you are super pro-government and fascism and totalitarianism, anything that's non-governmental is obviously against you. So you got to get rid of them. Or at least that's how we simplify such things in the mind of people who want to take over all the power. In more news coming from Robert Fico, I don't know how to say his name. Slovakia's populist prime minister is reacted angrily on Tuesday, that was the 15th of April, to what he called disrespectful remarks by European Union foreign policy chief, who warned European leaders against traveling to Moscow for military celebrations of the end of World War II. This is coming off of The Independent. Known for his pro-Russian views, Fico has repeatedly vowed to attend the military parade in the Russian capital on May 9th. That will mark the 80th anniversary of Nazi Germany's defeat in World War II. Kaja Kala told reporters in Luxembourg on the 14th of April, after a meeting of EU foreign ministers, that what was also discussed and very clearly said by the different member states is that any participation in the 9th of May parades or celebrations in Moscow will not be taken lightly on the European side, considering that Russia is really waging a full-scale war in Europe. Kala also said that we made it very clear that we do not want any candidate country to participate in these events on the 9th of May in Moscow. He called on the member states to send their representatives to the capital Kyiv instead, to show solidarity with Ukraine. I will go to Moscow on May 9th, Fico said in a statement. Mrs. Kala, I would like to inform you that I am a legitimate premier of Slovakia, a sovereign country. Nobody can order me where to go or not to go. I don't think anyone made any orders. They just said, don't do it, because otherwise you're just seeing as undermining our position. Man, diplomacy is dead. People are taking everything so seriously and personally. You're telling me what to do. No, we're telling you what to do for the global peace. Hello? Hi? It's not about you. You're a leader of a country. It's about you, how you represent your country, asshole. Anyways. Fico said he will travel to Moscow to honor the Red Army soldiers who liberated his country and other victims of the Nazis, and then put them under a communist rulership in the Soviet Union, and then they suffered. But, let's not forget how great communism was for the east of Europe. The Kremlin has used the annual Victory Day celebrations to tout its battlefield prowess, and Putin hailed Russian troops fighting Ukraine as heroes at last year's event. Fico's view on Russia's war on Ukraine differs sharply from most other European leaders. The Slovakian Prime Minister returned to power last year after his leftist party Smear director won parliamentary election on a pro-Russian and anti-American platform. Well, at least it wasn't anti-EU. Since then, he has ended his country's military aid for Ukraine, lashed out at EU sanctions on Russia, and vowed to block Ukraine from joining NATO. Because he loves that sweet Moscow boot. Tastes just like a gulag. Unlike many Western politicians, Fico has not visited Kyiv since the start of the Russian full-scale invasion more than 3 years ago. The government has faced vocal protests against its pro-Russian stance and other policies, like the policy we just talked about, the NGO bill. So, there's your news coming out of Slovakia. Just another country to put on your watch list of wanting to become part of Russia's federation, new federation of Russia, along with Hungary and
potential fascists.
Yeah, it's sad to see in Georgia, I guess, but what can you do? If that's what the politicians that people elected want to do, The only thing they can do is unelect them, which, of course, these
Like a
fascists will
Stalin
probably say,
wannabes.
wait, if you want to unelect me, you're against me. Yep. We don't like you anymore.
Well,
That's how that works.
I don't think these rulers should be cozying up to Russia. They should be putting their own people first. Get it? Putting their own people first.
That's a good one.
There's your pun.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Putting your own people first. Also, hello, Amlin. Thank you for stopping by. Let's roll the wheel for the next
Reel on.
segue. And I'll get some water so I don't draw my mouth out, man. All right, I'll
Now
write a
drinking
haiku.
Truck stop coffee. Yeah.
On to your story.
Actually, it's homemade in a truck stop coffee container. This is from Reuters.com. U.S. Senator Van Hollen, which is my senator from Maryland, one of my two senators, meets with wrongly deported man in El Salvador. So it's from Daniel Trotta and Kanashika Singh. Democratic U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen met on Thursday with Kilmer Abrego Garcia, the man wrongly deported to El Salvador in a case that has pitted a defiant Stinky the Clown administration against the courts, including the Supreme Court, which unanimously told him that he needs to come back home to where he lives instead of someplace he's never lived. Anyway, in the case has pitted Stinky the Clown against the courts and fanned a prospect of a constitutional conflict, which is already happening. The senator posted an X image, a social media image of himself in El Salvador with Abrego Garcia dressed in a collared shirt, jeans, and a baseball cap, the day after being denied access to notorious prison gang members where he had last been held. The senator was denied access, not the prisoner, of course. The Reuters Tariff Watch, oh, never mind, that's a ad. I said my main goal of this trip to El Salvador was to meet with Kilmer. Tonight I had that chance, the senator wrote in his post, but giving no indication of Garcia's health or state of mind. I have called his wife Jennifer to pass along his message of love, Van Hollen added. Van Hollen added, I look forward to providing a full update upon my return. The U.S. Supreme Court has directed the administration of Diaper Donnie to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return after Washington acknowledged he was deported because of an administrative error. In a statement apart from the ruling, liberal Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, why do we guys call her liberal? I don't know why, said the government had cited no basis for what she called Abrego Garcia's warrantless arrest, nor for his deportation or imprisonment to El Salvador. So why is he still there? Abrego Garcia's lawyers say he has never been charged with nor convicted of any crime, and denied the Justice Department's accusation that he belongs to the criminal gang MS-13, which I believe is a completely made-up criminal gang. I don't know if it even exists. If Trump says it exists, I doubt it even exists. So this fictitious gang that people made up the name for, which I totally challenge that it even exists. But the government has given up no indication it plans to seek his return and had no authority to release a man from a foreign prison, raising the potential for a constitutional conflict should Stinky the Clown defy the highest court. In a statement released after the meeting, White House Deputy Press Secretary Kush CIA repeated the unproven accusation that Abrego Garcia was a member of the MS-13, which again is a made-up name for a made-up gang that they made up in their fucking heads. Chris Van Hollen has firmly established Democrats as the party whose top priority is the welfare of illegal aliens. Ah, yeah, whatever. Anyway, it is truly disgusting. President Trump will continue to stand on the side of law-abiding Americans. Yeah, that's why you arrested a law-abiding American and sent him to El Salvador.
Yeah.
Boy, what an accomplishment. Trump's border czar, which is not a thing, it never was a thing, Tom Homan, fascist, told CNN the man belonged in prison. Despite the Supreme Court directive, who cares about laws? He belongs in prison.
You're right next to your mic.
I'm just saying. Who are these assholes?
I'm just saying you can speak loudly without yelling. That's all.
And I've got a made up gang, to prove it. I made up a gang name just to prove it. Everybody who's ever done anything, has said anything wrong with me is part of this gang that I made up the name for. MS-13.
Yeah, I called them the Anti-Alley Gang, and I hate them. And I'm gonna send them all to Chechnya or something.
Right. Everybody's in this gang name I made up.
Yeah.
Everybody's in this gang. Everybody I deport. Because I say so. I think we did the right thing. I think he's where he should be. Even if he came back, he's going to be detained and he's going to be removed as per order of removal. For what? For what? What crime did he commit? Assholes! You got no crime. You didn't even charge him with anything, you sons of bitches. I'd like to get my hands on one of these motherfuckers for like 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes to any of these assholes.
The problem is that a lot of these guys are very proud of being ignorant. So they will just do that thing that I'm sure you've talked to people like this, right? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain that? I still don't understand because I'm an idiot and I'm proud that I'm an idiot. So I don't know what you're saying. You're just too smart for me. So I'm just going to continue being an idiot. There's politicians like that right now.
Yeah, exactly. Why should I do anything?
My donors aren't asking me. I already know how I feel.
You're not giving them a big fat check. Yeah. You're not giving them a big fat check. Why should he listen to you? Along with Abrego Garcia, the Trump administration has deported El Salvador hundreds of people, mostly Venezuelans. This is the only one we're talking about, by the way. Yeah. Mostly Venezuelans. Okay.
To El Salvador. That's the same country.
Yeah. Gang members under the Alien Enemies Act of 17.
Oh, here we go.
1998, without presenting evidence, James Brosberg has already threatened administration officials with criminal contempt charges over deportations. Brosberg said the administration demonstrated willful disregard for his March 15th order barring the deportations to El Salvador under the 1798 Act. Salvadoran officials have also shown no interest in releasing Abrego Garcia. During the meeting with Trump, with shit-faced Stinky the Clown at the White House on Monday, El Salvador's president Nayib Bukele, or whatever the fuck this pile of shit's name is, said he had no plans to return Abrego Garcia because he's, again, a fascist pile of shit. Bukele, or whatever the fuck his name is, also posted pictures of the encounter with Van Hollen on social media, followed by a post saying he would remain in custody of the Central American. You have the Central American?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Central America doesn't really exist. It's another made-up thing.
It's North America, is what it is.
But that's what we talked about this before, I don't know, last year, right? When I was in school, they taught me Mexico was in Central America because they wanted the other Mexico by making it, it's somewhere else, you know? Instead of saying it's in North America, which it is, right? Oh no, that's in Central America. That's a totally different place from here. That's why they need to go back there.
And when you list North American countries, you always list Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador.
Yeah.
You don't list them as South American countries.
No, you list them under Central America. At least when I was in school, that's what they would make you do.
No, because Central America is not a continent.
It's not a real place. No, you're right.
Like you said, it's central. It's a thing, but it's not a continent.
It's brainwashed.
It's a location, but it's not. It's like the Middle East is location. Yeah. Right? It's a location. It's not a geographical name. Anyway, back to the story. Van Hollen, the U.S. Senator from Maryland, where Abrego Garcia lived, arrived on Wednesday in El Salvador to meet senior officials and advocate for his release, but was told by President Felix Oloa he could not authorize a visit or a telephone call with Abrego Garcia. It was not immediately clear what changed to allow the senator's access. Abrego Garcia, 29, left El Salvador at the age of 16 to escape gang-related violence, his lawyer said, and has received protective order in 2019 to continue living in the United States. But somehow he joined a Venezuelan gang. Give me a fucking break. Representatives of Abrego Garcia and Viola did not immediately respond to requests for further comment on the meeting. There's your story. There's the fun of fascist America. Yeah, yay. Fascism is here, folks. We don't have to wait for the fucking arrival party. We don't have to wait for the music, the ceremony. It's here, boys and girls. If you ain't aware of it, you're going to be. It might be too late for you, but it's too late for a lot of people because they were sitting around going, Trump, what harm could he do? Guess what? A lot. Back to you. Sorry, you gotta do your...
It's okay. We're allowed to be doomers on Fridays, at least. a little bit of humor. I mean, I saw a story. I haven't found an actual source for the story because, so take this with a grain of salt. But I saw a story about 2 German girls who were visiting Hawaii, got deported to Japan. 18-year-old German girls. They're a threat to American soil, so they were sent to Japan.
Right.
Deported to Japan. Well, first they were put in jail with supposedly dangerous criminals, and then deported to Japan.
Right.
Like I said, Japan. I only found one story about this, and it's behind a paywall, and I don't know the source, so might not have actually happened, but just an idea of things that maybe be possible to.
What was your segue?
My segue is my haiku, which is.
Oh, okay.
Nation's dark stain, bloodied hands of fear entwine, innocence lost here. So.
All right.
Innocent, no such thing as innocent until proven guilty. It's the other way around, and it has been for a while, to be honest.
We live in a shitty country at a shitty time. That's all there is to it.
Okay, let's roll our next segue for my stories here. We've got us. Oh, I didn't see what it was. What was it? Oh, remind me of a song. There we go. And we're going to talk quite longly about. This is a 6-minute article. Yeah, remind me of a song. We're talking about France and Haiti's post-slavery reparations. This is by RFI. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced he intends to set up a joint Franco-Haitian mission to examine France's history with its former colony and its impact on the country's development since its independence, notably the demand that Haiti pay France reparations to compensate slave owners for the losses in return for recognition. So that happened a long time ago. Oh, you want to be independent, huh? Well, now that you're not slaves anymore, we lost money, so you need to pay us for that. France also famously made Algeria pay for all the train railroads they put down. They didn't ask, Algeria didn't ask them to do that. But France had it as a colony and said, oh, we need trains. Wait a minute. You can't claim independence. What about those trains we built for you? You know what? You're going to have to pay us for those trains. Okay. So France has been, I guess you could say historically, been shitters. This decision placed a price on the freedom of a young nation, which was confronted with the unjust forces of history the moment it was founded, said Macron in a statement released yesterday on the 17th. Today, on this bicentenary, we must look history in the face. Haiti was born of a revolution, which boldly affirmed the universal principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Haiti's struggle, in harmony with the ideals of the French Revolution, should have offered France and Haiti the opportunity to forge a common path to continue. Recognizing the truth of history means refusing to forget and erase. For France, it also means assuming its share of truth in the painful construction of memory for Haiti, which began in 1805. Macron announced that the Franco-Haitian Commission proposed a recommendation to both the governments so that they can learn from them and build a more peaceful future, although the timeline and goals remain unclear. 200 years ago, on the 17th of April, 1825, which we probably talked about on This Day in History, France officially recognized Haiti's independence. It should have been a moment of pride for the world's first country born from a successful slave revolt. That's right, they killed their slave owners right away. You're enslaving us? I don't think so. Time to die, ass. Instead, it marked the beginning of the punishing financial and political ordeal. In return for recognition, France demanded 150 million francs in gold. The money was to compensate former slave owners for their losses. French warships, the slave owners should be lucky they're not in fucking prison. Rotting in prison, because that's what I would have done. Oh, yeah, we've decided slave owning is bad now, and you're going to jail. French warships waited off the coast, and King Charles X made it clear. If Haiti refused, there would be war. The country that had fought off slavery was made to pay its former oppressors for the privilege of being free. Ain't that capitalism? The paradox is that the victors ended up paying a ransom to the defeated, because the Haitians had defeated the French army in 1803 to proclaim their independence. It was an unjust payment. The real victims were the enslaved people, said Jean-Marie Deodat, a Haitian geographer and lecturer at Sorbonne. The first installment alone, 30 million francs, was 6 times greater than Haiti's entire national budget. To meet the demand, Haiti borrowed heavily from French banks. Ah! Oh my god, it's just a fucking money racket, dude. Oh, we need money. Let's borrow it from the French to give it back to the government. To meet the demand, Haiti borrowed heavily from French banks. Interest and commissions mounted for more than a century. Payments continued until 1950. So, 150 years of paying their own ransom. In a 2022 investigation, the New York Times calculated that Haiti's repayment amounted to the modern equivalent of $560 million. The wider cost to Haiti's development had been estimated to be at least $21 billion. So whenever somebody says, man, why do people live in Haiti and why does it look like a shack town, or why they're always getting swept up by hurricanes and, whatever shitty things people say about Haiti, remember that they were not allowed to spend any of their government money on their own infrastructure because they're too busy paying the French for their freedom. There were elements of state modernization, such as schools or hospitals, which unfortunately could not flourish because of the structural lack of resources. Oh yeah, that's a good point as well. Oh, their health is bad, their education is bad. Yeah, they have no money. They're paying it to France. And what is France doing with that money? I want to know what they did with that money. Built a school, probably, in France. That's famously that's what happened in Scotland. There's some buildings in Scotland that were only built because of slave trade. Right? They funneled the slave money into the state and said, hey, let's build a new library. And there's this slave
US
library.
Capitol, man.
Yeah, it's fucked up, man.
The U.S. Capitol. Yeah. A lot of those buildings are built just because
exactly.
slaves were
Some economists argue that without this early setback, Haiti's economy today might look more like a Dominican Republic. But instead, it remains the poorest country in the Americas. Today, the country is in crisis, with armed gangs controlling 85% of the capital and public services failing. Yeah, public services never had a chance to exist, let alone fail. Can you really fail if you're at negative $560 million? We started in debt, In France, 2 separate resolutions concerning Haiti have been submitted to the National Assembly. One, brought forward by the left-wing party France Unbowed, LFI, calls for a new phase of cooperation between the countries and a formal recognition of their shared past. When you look at what the French government and regimes did to Haiti, and what little money has been invested, it's not enough, said Gabriela Cathala, an LFI MP. Her resolution also calls on the French government to recognize the crimes against humanity committed in Haiti, and to strengthen cooperation, especially around security. Yeah, like slavery, for example. I'm sure the slave owners weren't nice, upstanding guys. So, I don't feel bad for them. Oh, we lost our investment. Boo-hoo, that's how business works. Second proposal, supported by communists and overseas MPs, goes further, demanding reparations and a full refund of the original debt. I agree. Not to be a radical leftist here, but why the fuck did they take the money? Give it back. As we say in Creole, forgiveness doesn't heal the wounds. Symbols are necessary, but also we need concrete action to help Haitian people escape this serious situation. They better, in the next 10 years, rebuild schools, rebuild infrastructure, get rid of the gangs. That's what they should be doing. If they're not going to give the money back, at least use that amount of money. Allocate that amount of money in your budget for only Haiti and helping Haiti and spending it all on that. Or something. I don't know.
I mean, Haiti.
Because I'm sure there's some French politicians who are like, we can't give them $560 million. They might be corrupt. They might just use that to line their own pockets. Right. So, I'm just making a middle ground here by you can help them by spending that money yourself. In January, former Haitian President Leslie Voltaire said he had raised the issue of restitution during a meeting with Macron, a term which did not appear in the statement released by the LC Palace yesterday, on the 17th. In recent days, French scholars and commentators have renewed calls for reparations. Deodat said the issue is closely followed by descendants of enslaved people around the world, explaining that Haiti is a symbol. Since the early 2000s, similar demands for justice have been raised in other former French colonies, including Martinique, French Guiana, and Reunion. I think Algeria should also ask for reparations. Like I said, I think it's really messed up that they're like, yeah, pay for those train stations we built for you. We'd ask you to build those, asshole. What if to pay for it? Like, I'm gonna go to your house. I'm gonna build a whole new extension to your house and say, hey, you're welcome. Now pay me for it. I know, like, let's say you have a summer home, you know, and I'm just living in your house when you're not there during the winter, you know. And I built this whole extension for you. You have to pay for it, though. You're welcome. Sorry, I wasn't living here. Anyways, there's my news. Give me my song, I guess. You have a song.
Okay, I guess the song reminds me of is Redemption Song by Bob Marley. There you go.
Yeah.
Redemption Song, which is a song about redeeming yourself from mental slavery, right? Not just regular slavery. Right on, there's my
stuff.
song it reminds me of. Sorry. Redemption Song, all I ever had. All right. Spin the wheel for my story, which goes way back in time.
Spin the wheel.
Way before slavery. Did you ever wonder who your great times a million grandmother was? Well, we're going to get to that.
All right, give me a limerick.
A limerick. Ooh, a limerick about the derivation of life on Earth. All right. This is from Earth.com. Eric Rawls, Earth.com staff writer. All life on Earth comes from one single ancestor, now we know what it is. Every plant leaf, every eagle feather, speck of pond scum spell out existence with the same 4 DNA letters. Ribosomes read that code, snap together 20 familiar amino acids, and pay each cellular bill with the energy token ATP. Talk about mixing metaphors, holy crap. This guy mixing the old metaphors. Anyway, that sameness keeps biologists chasing one big puzzle. If the instructions are nearly identical everywhere, who wrote the first edition? The answer points to Luca, L-U-C-A, the last universal common ancestor, an organism that sat at the split between bacteria and archaea. One genetic code. Coincidence. A single genetic... Ooh, did we lose... We lost the signal. What was that noise then? All right, a single genetic alphabet, the same protein-making machinery, and a universal energy currency add up to more than luck. The evolutionary history of genes is complicated by their exchange between lineages, explained Dr. Edmund Moody, lead author from the University of Bristol. His team sifted thousands of genomes to see how far back the shared toolkit stretches. We have to use complex evolutionary models to reconcile the evolutionary history of genes with the genealogy of species. By letting the data, rather than strict cutoffs, decide which features belong to Luca, the researchers landed on roughly 2,600 genes, about as many as a run-of-the-mill modern bacterium carries. Co-authored Tom Williams noted, one of the real advantages here is applying the gene tree species tree reconciliation approach to such a diverse data set representing the primary domains of life, archaea and bacteria. This allows us to say that with some confidence and assess that with that level of confidence in how Luca lived. If you understood that, congratulations. Previous estimates swung from a lean 80 gene outline to libraries topping 1,500 families. The updated theory paints Luca as anything but a genetic ghost. Inside these 2,600 blueprints are membrane pumps, DNA repair crews, and all the ingredients for simple lipids. Better still, the cache includes the world Jungdahl pathway, a tiny chemical loop that welds carbon dioxide to hydrogen, spits out acetate, and releases usable energy in the process. Such provisions point to a self-reliant cell thriving without outside help. That picture challenges older ideas that the early life was stripped-down passenger riding geology's coattails through complexity. Instead, Luca seems to have been a capable, adaptable, and ready to try new tricks at the moment the planet cooled enough to keep liquid water in place. Tracking gene changes throughout Earth's history, the study dates Luca to about 4.2 billion years ago, only a few hundred million years after Earth itself pulled together. We did not expect Luca to be so old, within just hundreds of millions of years of Earth formation. However, our results fit with modern views on the habitability of early Earth, said Dr. Sandra Alvarez Carretero. Back then, asteroid impacts and belching volcanoes regularly upended the crust, yet seafloor hydrothermal vents likely offered warm, metal-rich oases. Iron, nickel, and sulfur minerals could have driven the very reactions scripted in Luca's genome. The Wood-Jungdahl pathway, still used by some present-day microbes, fits neatly into that setting, turning vent chemistry into food and fuel. Our study showed that Luca was a complex organism, not too different from modern prokaryotes, which is really interesting. What is really interesting is that it clearly presented an early immune system, showing that even by 4.2 billion years ago, our ancestors were already engaged in an arms race with viruses, said Professor David Pisani. Genes resembling today's CRISPR, C-R-I-S-P-R, defenses suggest viral predators appeared almost as soon as cells did. The constant sparring matters. Viral raids can shuffle genes between hosts faster than random mutations alone. The pressures to dodge infection forces microbes to innovate, potentially speeding up the invention of new enzymes, new pathways, and even entire metabolic lifestyles that later lineages would inherit. It's clear that Luca was exploiting and changing his environment, but it's unlikely to have lived alone. Its waste would have been food for other microbes like methanogens that would have helped to create a recycling ecosystem, observed Tim Linton from the University of Exeter. In modern hydrothermal vents, acetate producers and methane makers trade leftovers, smoothing local chemistry and stabilizing energy flows. Similar give and take could explain how early Earth cycled carbon and hydrogen long before photosynthesis took the stage. By knitting together waste and resource, hydrothermal vent communities may have tempered extreme savings in temperature and acidity, opening fresh niches for the next wave of evolutionary experiments. Why does Luca matter? These findings and methods employed in this work will also inform future studies that look in more detail into the subsequent evolution of prokaryotes in light of Earth's history, including the lesser studied archaea with the methanogenic representatives, said Professor Anja Spang, co-author of the Royal Netherlands Institute of Sea Research. Interviewed a lot of people for this article. Professor Phil Donahue highlighted the interdisciplinary nature of the work, saying it brought together data and techniques from across multiple fields. The collaborative approach, he explained, made it possible to uncover insights in early Earth and its origins that no single discipline could have revealed on its own. He also pointed out how swiftly ecosystems seem to have taken root on the early planet, an observation that opens the door to the possibility that life might be thriving on other Earth-like worlds in the universe. This suggests that life may be flourishing in Earth-like biospheres elsewhere in the universe, Donahue concluded. What happens next? To sum it all up, each genome pulled from ocean mud or desert crust adds a puzzle piece to the Luca's portrait. As sequencing tech grows faster and cheaper, scientists will keep hunting for ancient gene families, refining the ancestral blueprint, and scoping out early viral fossils hidden in the microbial DNA. New drilling missions aimed at untouched seafloor vents could reveal communities whose lifestyles echo those first biochemical gambles, tightening links between geology and genetics. The storyline is unfolding, but one takeaway already stands firm. Life did not tiptoe onto the stage. It sprinted, armed with full toolkit, ready to spar with viruses and eager to reshape its surroundings, leaving every organism alive today carrying a hint of that 4 billion-year-old spark. So, we can't celebrate great grandma's birthday, but because we don't know when it was, because we didn't have calendars 4 billion years ago. But happy birthday!
Happy birthday, great times a billion grandma.
There you go.
All right,
way to fight them
here's
viruses,
my limerick
Randy.
here. Wait, let me go to my limerick because I accidentally out-tabbed it. Okay, here we go. With prokaryotes first on the scene, evolution's grand tale was gleaned. Adaptation's pace quickened fast as cell merged to form the past, and eukaryotes took to the green. So,
Wow,
delicious.
Fancy scientific words.
Lucky for me, I didn't have to rhyme prokaryotes or eukaryotes with anything.
Ites rhymes with a lot of stuff. Lights.
They can rhyme with themselves, to be honest. But there you go. There's your
Mites.
limerick.
Ite. There's your story, your long, boring science story. I did send you a video, by the way.
Yes, I
did
heard
send you a
that. I
video.
forgot about it, but
Sorry.
I was reading a limerick.
3
All right,
minutes.
bad
Might
pun
probably
is our
wait
next
too long.
segue.
Another bad pun.
Coming after our culture news. This is a long one, a little short list here from Euronews, probably from David Mulquand. Let me check. I'll be so sad when this guy stops working here. Yeah, it's from David, our friend David here on Euronews Culture. Let's talk about the perfect Easter playlist, songs about Jesus, hidden meanings behind songs about Jesus. As you're reading,
Sing along.
you're heading away for the Easter break or staying put for the holiest of holidays, Euronews Culture has 5 Jesus-themed songs you should choose to listen to more carefully. Their meanings may surprise you. Our first one is Depeche Mode, Personal Jesus. Your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers. Someone who cares. We start with the obvious one, but it's a classic. In 1989, Depeche Mode released this single from their then upcoming album, Violator, which went on to become a fan favorite. At the time, the band's label Mute placed personal ads in local newspapers with the words, "Your own personal Jesus," and a phone number. Whoever decided to call could hear the new track. While many consider the song to be about the commercialization of religion, chief songwriter Martin Gore explained in a Spin interview in 1990 that it's not about that at all. The lyrics were actually referencing Priscilla Presley's autobiography, Elvis and Me. It's a song about being a Jesus for somebody else, someone to give you hope and care, said Gore. It's about how Elvis Presley was her man and her mentor and how often that happens in love relationships. How everybody's heart is like God in some way. That's not a very balanced view of someone, is it? The song frequently tops Best Depeche Mode song lists, has been covered many times, including by Johnny Cash in 2022 on his album American 4, The Man Comes Around, and Marilyn Manson in 2000, of course, is the famous, I think pretty famous. In 2008, Hilary Duff based her song Reach Out on Personal Jesus, changing the lyrics to Reach Out and Touch Me, cheeky scamp. Reach out and touch me. Dun, dun. I don't know this song. By Tom Waits, Chocolate Jesus. Do you know this song either?
No, but I know Tom Waits. He's awesome.
Well, I don't go to church on
he has one of those
Sunday.
voices.
Don't get on my knees to pray. Don't memorize the books of the Bible. I got my own special way. I know Jesus loves me, maybe just a little bit more. Falls down on my knees every Sunday at Zerelda Lee's candy store. So this is a personal favorite from David Mulquand, which is Chocolate Jesus. Perfect for Easter. For the heathens amongst you, Chocolate Jesus refers to the chocolate sculptures by Richard Manderson, who, in 1994, created a series of small raspberry fondant-filled chocolate Jesuses that were sold to visitors of the Australian Cultural Centre, the Gorman House Art Centre in Canberra. A U.S. newspaper condemned his act of depicting Jesus on chocolate, and in response, Manderson brilliantly decided to create an actual life-size chocolate Jesus he called Transubstantiation 2. The work was exhibited in the public around Easter in 1994, with Manderson inviting the public to come and eat his immaculate confection. Enter Tom Waits, who 5 years later released the song Chocolate Jesus on his Grammy Award-winning album Mule Variation. If you have had the pleasure, drop this article right now and go listen to that song and the album. The lyrics describe a boy who goes to the candy store every Sunday to get his fill of chocolate Jesus. Waite said he was inspired to write this song not after learning about Manderson's work, but Testaments, a candy product with a cross imprinted on it and a Bible verse on the wrapping. My father-in-law were trying to get me interested in this business venture, these things called Testaments, he said in an interview on David Letterman's show in 1999, weaving another one of his tall tales. There are these little lozenges with crosses on them. If you're on the road or something, you can't worship, and you can't worship in the way you're accustomed. It's during the week. You can have one of these little testaments, and this kind of gets you right in touch with your higher power by putting the higher power inside of you. Delicious. The song is essentially a playful jab at those who use religion merely as a feel-good mechanism. I'm a good person. I pray every night. Likening those who hypocritically practice Bible cherry-picking only for the superficial, conscious-clearing rush to the endorphins released in the brain when kids get their sugar high. Faith then stops being about faith and more about the evils they make many commit in the name of religion. So there's your little hidden meaning to Chocolate Jesus. Yeah, no wonder I didn't know this happened. I wasn't alive. 1994. Okay, yeah.
Right. Right. You wouldn't have known anyway.
You could have told me that and I would have believed you. Even without reading this article.
You would have had to been a Tom Waits fan, which are...
Our next song is from George Michael, Jesus to a Child, which I also don't know the song. What have I learned from all this pain? I thought I'd never feel the same about anyone or anything again. Not a good George Michael impressionist, sorry. This one isn't what it seems to be. Without doubt, one of the late artist's most haunting and beautiful songs, Jesus to a Child is a personal tribute which references George Michael's grief following the loss of his first love, Anselmo Filippa. He met Filippa while performing in Rio de Janeiro in 1991, and later shared that he was the first love of my entire life. I was happier than I'd ever been. Fame, money, everything just pales by comparison. Filippa died of an AIDS-related brain hemorrhage in 1993, and given that Michael hadn't come out as gay by the time the song was released in 1996, many interpret the song as being an ode to faith. Oh, the irony concerning most organized religions' despicable attitudes toward any deviation from heteronormativity. Ooh, that was a word and a half. Jesus to a Child became George's first ever solo single to enter the UK charts at number 1. Really? Wow, that's cool. Right up until his death in 2016, the artist would dedicate the song to Filippa when he performed it live. After the singer's death, the founder of the UK charity Childline, Dame Esther Ronson, revealed that all of the royalties from Jesus to a Child were secretly donated to charity. That's amazing. Which provides a counseling service for children and teenagers going through difficult times. Try listening to that song and not shedding a tear now. That's so sweet. Like, he didn't even have to do that, but he did. Like, my first number 1, donate all the funds to children in need. Nirvana. Jesus doesn't want me for a sunbeam. Jesus don't want me for a sunbeam. Sunbeams are never made like me. Don't expect me to cry for all the reasons you had to die. Never ask your love of me. Originally recorded by the Scottish outfit The Vaselines, the song remains better known for the Nirvana cover, which changed the original title from Jesus Wants Me for a Sunbeam to Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam. The Vaselines conceived the song as a parody of the Christian children's hymn, I'll Be a Sunbeam. Nirvana's version seems to take that baton and run further with it, considering Kurt Cobain and the band were outspoken of homophobia and sexism, as in they were supported, they didn't like it. Cobain even said he wished he'd been gay just to piss off homophobes, and he often wore dresses to protest against sexism. Wearing a dress shows I can be as feminine as I want, he told the LA Times in a jab at the macho undercurrents he loathed in the rock scene. I'm a heterosexual, like big deal. If I was a homosexual, it wouldn't matter either. He also admitted to spray painting God is gay in his hometown of Aberdeen, and repeatedly stated that he had no time for any form of apathetic behavior. Me either. I only give apathy to people who deserve it, that are not tolerant of others and hateful of others. Those are the people who get my apathy. Oh, that racist got hit by a train? I don't care. Not even a little bit. I'm disgusted at what we allow to go on, by how spineless, lethargic, and guilty we are for not standing up against racism, sexism, and all the other isms that the counterculture has been whining about for years while they sit and force the same attitudes every night on their televisions and in the magazines. For Nirvana, Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam was a song about rejecting hypocritical belief system that doesn't celebrate the times it preaches, because sunbeams are never made like me. The Flaming Lips, Jesus shooting heroin. I don't like the Flaming Lips, so I don't even know what the Flaming Lips sounds like. But before you dismiss the inclusion of this song as childish provocation, stop to consider the stories behind the previous songs and open your mind and ears to this one. Let's start with the opening lyrics. Well, I never really understood religions, except it seemed as good reason to kill. Everybody's got their own conceptions, and you know they always will. These days are needless, needled under my skin. Jesus shooting heroin. Taken from the Flaming Lips' debut 1986 album. Here it is. The song is less about likening religion to a drug, and more a commentary on the corruption of religion, how frustration prevails when society remains complacent in the face of suffering. That, or it could be read as a pessimistic ditty that states that even Jesus would be shooting up considering the current state of the world. Your call. However, you choose to interpret it, frontman Wayne Coyne maintained a healthy sense of humor and distance vis-a-vis Jesus shooting heroin, telling Red Bull Music Academy in 2017, I think we wanted to appear to be menacing and deep and represent some dark, unspeakable version of life in the Bible Belt or something like that. It's just such a strange song, and I could understand why people would think that something is going wrong, and we're weird and we're pretentious at all the same time. Whether pretentious or weird, it's an unappreciated song that deserves an inclusion in her Easter playlist. So go ahead and add all those songs to your Easter playlist and see how your family will shake in their boots, because they'll be like, God loves me, and that song will end, and then next will be like, my own person. Wait a minute, this is a gospel song? Personal Jesus gospel version. I'm sure somebody's made that. They've had to. Why not? So there's our songs coming off of our culture segment here. And give me your
my
segue.
bad pun. Well, don't get cross with me because I didn't come with a really good pun. But he's missing songs like, how about Jesus is Just All Right With Me by the Doobie Brothers, man.
Well, I mean, we could have made the list like 10 songs long, but I think he just wanted to do a short list there.
How about Man in the Box, where in the chorus he's like, Jesus Christ.
What about Jesus Christ Pose? Where's that one?
Yeah. Man in the Box is my favorite because it's a song about censorship, and when you watch the MTV video, they edit out the word shit and put the word pit in there, buried in my pit, right? It's a song about censorship, and they're actually censoring the song about censorship.
That reminds me of something that happened yesterday. I was listening to some System of a Down. I can't remember the name of the song, but they say the F word, F-A-G, a lot in that song, and it's not muted at all. It's not censored at all. But then they censored bitch in the song. The word bitch is censored. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure F-A-G is a worse word now, especially. But I was like, why was it censored to begin with? You know, why was bitch censored? That's so bizarre. But yeah.
I still remember when they used to play "Who Are You" by The Who, the album version on the radio, and in the song he clearly says, "Who the fuck are you?" and it doesn't get edited, and it never did all through my childhood. Hearing it on the radio, I said, "They're saying fuck." It's not being edited because he says it so fast. Who the fuck are you? Anyway,
that's what Britney Spears' song is also, right? Like, what's the name of the song? If You See Amy. Right, everyone wants to fuck me is what she's saying, Britney Spears. But if you see Amy, it's just another trick to get past censorship. Everyone wants to. If you see Amy,
right? She's just using it as an acronym.
Yeah.
It's like "See you next Tuesday," right?
Yeah, exactly.
See you.
Anyway,
next
censorship
Tuesday.
is dumb. I hate it. And,
censorship, again.
Like, protect the children. The children are going to hear the bad words. They go to school. Like, shut up.
Yeah, Man in the Box again. It's like he was pleading to Jesus. I think it's like,
Jesus, my Christian sensibilities, or something.
Somebody save me! Somebody save me! Somebody, anybody! I'm the man in the box. I'm confined by these four walls of censorship.
All right, let me roll my segue here.
My contribution to the song that least mentions Jesus Christ, along with, of course, the Doobie Brothers, which sang "Jesus is just all right with me." 1857, American defense lawyer and public speaker, debater, and writer Clarence Darrow was born. Among his high-profile court appearances was a Scopes trial in which he defended a Tennessee high school teacher who had broken the state law by presenting the Darwinian theory of evolution. So good for Clarence Darrow, defending science.
Yeah, sad that it needs
1906,
defending.
So happy birthday to Clarence Darrow, somebody who stood up for science. Guy, we are not going to sit here and wallow in ignorance of some guy with a pointy hat telling us how things work. No, thank you. And we're shout back to the Pope thing from 1506. In 1906, on this day, San Francisco was rocked by an earthquake which caused by slippage along the San Andreas Fault. Of course, San Francisco was built on fill, so it doesn't help that it's not built on solid land. Well, San Francisco, the area, the Bay Area, is built. There's bedrock around there somewhere, but most of the buildings were just built on, oh yeah, let's just throw it on this pile of dirt and hope it stays. Anyway, 1942, U.S. Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle led 16 B-25 bombers on a spectacular surprise attack on Tokyo, another Japanese city, saying, "Take that, Tokyo! You want to surprise attack us or a surprise attack you too?" The Doolittle raid, as it became known, caused little damage but boosted Allied morale. It was kind of like our version of the
The British invasion of France.
Put it off to you.
Starts with a B.
Well,
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Starts with a B. Yeah, it does. They made a movie about it. They had to rescue, fishing boats had to rescue everybody from there. Dunkirk, yeah. It was kind of.
You meant during World War II? Okay, I was thinking, well, like in the 1700s or something when you said the British invasion of France. Oh, okay. They were, they were invading. They weren't really invading France, but they were invading. What do you call it? German occupied France, which is totally different.
Right. They invaded occupied France. Dunkirk was,
Dunkirk,
our Doolittle raid was our American version of Dunkirk. Like, we're going to do something, anything, right?
I'm
do something, anything.
For that, okay?
It's not false information, it's true. Dunkirk wasn't a British invasion.
No, I'm saying that's real, but you got me confused with the invading France.
Oh, I was doing a simile.
Oh, okay.
I was doing a simile. We didn't really accomplish anything by bombing Tokyo other than bombing some buildings or whatever, but it was good for morale. Same thing with Dunkirk. It was done for morale's sake. 1945, during the U.S. invasion of the Japanese island of Okinawa in World War II, American war correspondent Ernie Pyle was killed on a nearby IE island by Japanese gunfire. So never forget, there's a lot of people out there that go to war that don't have guns. They're just there to report, and they're very important. You may not like reporters, but they're more important than a lot of people you can think of, because they try to get the facts out. And facts are dangerous. Information is dangerous, especially if you're a fascist. In 1956, abandoning her Hollywood career, American actress Grace Kelly wed Rainier III, Prince of Monaco, in a civil ceremony. An opulent religious ceremony took place the following day. Well, they had to have two ceremonies for her. Makes no sense. Oh well, when you're a king, I guess you can do that. You got your own little country, Monaco, which is basically a gambling tax haven. 1980, Zimbabwe achieved independence from the United Kingdom. Congratulations to them. About time. 1999, Canadian ice hockey player Wayne Gretzky, considered one of the game's greatest players, skated in his last NHL game. That was over 26 years ago. Of course, we had Ole Ovechkin broke his goal-scoring record. But wow. Ovechkin will never get close, ever get close to Wayne Gretzky's scoring record, because in hockey, they count assists as part of as a scoring also. And Wayne Gretzky is the all-time leader in assists. He was also the all-time leader in goals. And even though Ovechkin broke his record in the same number of games, Ovechkin will, like I said, will never catch his assists record. Gretzky Gretzky was such a great player, he also holds the assist record. That's what I'm saying. The great Gretzky is what he was great. Probably the greatest hockey player of all time. Let's not confuse scoring a lot of goals with being a great player. It's not necessarily just scoring goals is not the goal of. I mean, it is the goal. It's literally a goal. But if you can't score goals by yourself, I guess is my point. In 2012 is our more events on this day. American television personality Dick Clark died in California. He was a longtime host of American Bandstand from 1957 to 87. And of course, he did the New Year's Eve thing right up until when he died. So I'm pretty sure 2012 he still was doing the New Year's Eve thing. Our featured event, 1775, the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Paul Revere, a renowned silversmith, is better remembered as a folk hero for the American Revolution, who on this night in 1775, 250 years ago exactly, made a dramatic ride on horseback to warn the Boston area residents of an imminent attack on British troops. And if he knew about Trump, he would have not even bothered. He would have just said, we'll just stay with the British. We'll be better off. We'll be better off in the long run. We just stayed with the British. Feature biography, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein not born on this day, but he died on this day, 1955, in Princeton, New Jersey, April 18th, 1955. So it is the 70th anniversary of Einstein's death. He was born March 4th, 1879 in Ulm, Germany. So he got to be 76. Our other featured birthdays, Ahmed I, Ottoman Sultan, born in 1590. Happy birthday to him! The Sultan of Swing, he was. No, he wasn't the Sultan of Swing. In 1772, David Ricardo, British economist, was born. Samuel P. Huntington's birthday is in 1927, American political scientist. Robert Hansen, American law enforcement agent and spy, born in 1944. And a happy 62nd birthday to Conan O'Brien, American talk show host, born in 1963, so he's turning 62 today. And our National Day calendar. It's National Exercise Day, which should be every day. Get that exercise. Keep that heart pumping. Your heart is a machine. It's a muscle. It needs exercise. Good Friday. It's the day that I guess Jesus was nailed to a cross. I'm not exactly what's so good about that. I'm thinking that Jesus had better days than that. He's thinking, this ain't such a good Friday. But hey, call it what you want. This is a shitty Friday, if you ask me. I got these holes in my hands. National Clean Out Your Medicine Cabinet Day, which, again, don't take those medicines, especially if you can't read the labels anymore. But they're probably expired. If you don't know what the hell they are, they're expired. Throw them away. Don't feed them to your pets and see what happens. That's not a good plan. Anyway, National Animal Crackers Day, which if you do feed your medicines to your pets, you will have animal crackers. You won't have pets anymore. It'll be what happened to Sparky? And it's National Poem in Your Pocket Day. That's right. There's a little thing you can cut out and you can fold it and you just keep those poems in your pocket and write your own little poem. I watched the video on it, but it was cool. It was neat, but it was like a preschool type thing. Anyway, those are your days. Those are your birthdays, your spins of the wheel. It's also National Poetry Month, by the way.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so we take our limericks and our haikus to heart here on National Poetry Month. So that's everything for this week on News Dump Friday. That's our spins of the wheel, our negotiations for hostage releases, our fascist updates, everything for April 18th, 2025 on Before Animal Crackers.
All right, then this is, it's a great thing to put in poetry. Chinese, yep. That's right. It's also going to be Chinese Language Day, United Nations Chinese Language Day on April 20th, so this Sunday, also on Easter weekend. The United Nations has 6 official languages, namely Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. In order to emphasize the importance of linguistic and cultural diversity, promote the equal use of the 6 official languages of the United Nations, United Nations Department of Public Information announced the launch of the United Nations Language Day in 2010. So, learn some Chinese today. It's actually really funny. When I clicked the link to the observance page, it was all in Chinese. I'm actually reading this translated to English because it's all in Chinese, which I can't read. Mandarin or the other one. That's with the C that I can't think of right now. This is probably Mandarin. Chinese simplified is what it says it is. But so that is happening over the weekend. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the US, as we finish up another show, another week of trying to survive the year and hopefully surviving the next 4 years, the next 8 years, or I don't even know. The problem with the Europe is that we don't have like a rotation thing, not really like in the way the US does. I'm sure we kind of do, but people have their elections in such different times, right? Like Germany has it then, the Netherlands has it there, and France has it then, that you don't always have like everyone has changed their government all at the same time. That never really happens. So it's kind of like always going like this. But we will see you guys next week for our Mucking Fun Day to cover everything that we missed over the weekend. And hopefully it's a nice calm weekend and you all can get high on 420. So take care of yourselves. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already so that you get notified when we go live. If you're missing out on the live streams and you're like, oh man, I keep missing them, turn that notification bell on. It'll tell you. It'll say, hey, she's gone. We're going live. It's time to go. Wake up.
Keep us off the street. Keep us honest.
I
don't want to turn to a life of crime.
And be sent to El Salvador. We'll see you then.
Yeah, be El Salvador prison.
Please take care of yourself. Drink water. Wear sunscreen. And here is our mic drop moment.
We've been talking about it this week. We mark 250 years since the American Revolution, and the celebration kicks off Friday night with a reenactment of Paul Revere's ride.
We asked area school kids to share us with their art on Paul Revere. I want to show some of their work now. The Paul Revere that we will see Friday night, by the way,
look at that horse,
will be recreated by two actors, hand-chosen for the
part.
Mike Sullivan shows us this 250th celebration ride will be the ultimate showcase.
The Boston Tea Party was started because of tariffs.
Yeah.
Listen, my children.
Boston Tea Party was response to tariffs.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic?
It's a secret tale the British fear whose
taxation without representation.
250 years ago, Revere set forth from his home to deliver a warning to the countryside.
The official Paul Revere?
I cannot tell you, sir, unless you proclaim to me that you are a son of liberty.
Official ride.
Michael LePage has been playing Paul Revere for decades. He will make Revere's famous trek.
For decades he's been Paul Revere.
I
hope he doesn't have any
to spread the alarm.
It's like playing Santa or the Easter Bunny.
Revere was summoned
it's like
by
Renaissance Fair guy. He
Yeah.
pretends he doesn't know technology.
to warn Sons of Liberty leaders.
Hey, isn't your friend the Paul Revere guy? Yeah, my friend is the Paul
The
Revere
walk
guy.
takes a fateful stop at Old North
What is that
Church.
We came
shiny
over
thing?
for a party.
Well,
We're doing like an
here at
American
Old North Church
Revolution
as a boy,
themed party.
It
We want
was
Paul
a
Revere
way
to show
for
up
us
and
to
ring a
warn
bell.
the countryside, and it was in case I did not make it out of Boston.
That's when Robert
Old North
Newman,
Church is
church
still
sexton,
there.
came
That's
up
an interesting
here
angle.
and lit two of these lanterns to signify the regular army would be coming by sea.
I hope in the future it is written properly.
Our man just laying
that
on the
the
floor.
signals
All right.
in that belfry, in
Like I
that
said,
steeple.
if Paul Revere
were
knew
not
about Trump, he
to
wouldn't
me,
have
they were
bothered.
from
He would have said, fuck
At the
it.
time,
Let's stay
Old North
British.
Church was the tallest building facing Charlestown. The history has always fascinated LePage.
When I was very little, my mother read me the poem
Charlestown.
by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow,
Charles
and I was
River.
captivated by it as a boy.
You loved it, huh? Oh,
The
wow.
reenactment will eventually leave the North End, reaching the pier.
True
Two
appreciator of
friends
history.
rowed me from here to Charlestown across the water to meet with Colonel Conant, Richard Devens, Deacon Larkin, and others in Charlestown.
It's here that our protagonist makes a change.
Oh, here we go.
You see, LePage is still learning to ride a
Right,
horse.
man.
That's
There will
also the
be
official Paul
a man
Revere
dressed
horse. Whatever
Pretty
Paul
much
Revere's
like
horse
I
is.
am,
Why
and
did,
we'll have some
His
sort
horse
of an
never gets a
exchange,
name.
and
I'm sure it had a name.
he will get on the horse and he will gallop off.
Skippy.
Skippy.
The regulars are out!
That
How about
man is
Lightning?
First
I always like
Sergeant
that
Matthew
name for a horse,
Johnson,
Lightning.
a member of the
Yeah.
National Lancers.
Well, to the mass organized militia, They fall into the purview of the National Guard.
He's been doing this ride for 29 years.
Warn your countrymen!
As for his
The horse is like, you know,
Well,
they
I've
got
been with us
cars
about-
these days.
3 years now.
I've been doing this
quarter
job
horse
for
will be
20
doing the bulk of
years.
the work.
So after Charlestown, it's probably about
Galloping,
another
doing a full
horses.
gallop.
17 miles or so.
Johnson will be
17
making a
mile
full
full
ride
gallop?
from
You're
Boston
gonna
to
kill your
Lexington
horse.
on April 21st.
Horse is like, there's some hay
The night
back
of the
there. I seen
anniversary,
it.
the pair
No, I
will do
seen
a
some
shorter
hay.
route down Main Street in
Some
Charlestown.
clover.
It's just, you're along for the ride.
Okay,
right?
they
You're
give
with
the horse a
You are
rest. That's
spreading the
good.
alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. In Boston, I'm
don't
Mike
make him
Sullivan,
ride that
WBZ
asphalt,
News.
Oh, and we are all along for
He looks
the
a little
ride.
big for the
This
horse,
is
but I think
great.
it's because his
This is
clothes makes him
exciting.
look
Awesome
bigger.
job
You
by
know?
Mike.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.